Today, on Be Something Wonderful, what the law of attraction and the secret gurus didn't tell you. I am your host, Tom Kearin, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, welcome back. Powerful video. I want to talk about a client that I spoke with a little over a month ago. And she admitted she's a big law of attraction, the secret fan, a fan of Abraham Hicks, all of that. But when we had talked just a little over a month ago, there were a few things brewing in her life, going on within her life. One was she wanted to sell her condo, and it had been on the market for a while because her and her boyfriend are engaged now. They're going to get married, so the condo wasn't selling. That was part of it. The other thing was that they're going to get married, and I think it's about a year and a half out now when they're going to get married. But he doesn't want to live together until they get married. He still wants to sort of feel this freedom of living alone. And you know, she was really pushing for them to move in together. And so what we had talked about this idea that her thoughts and feelings, her emotions, that this story that she's telling with her emotions were getting in the way. And the other element that she talked about yesterday, which we didn't talk a lot about when we first had our session about a little over a month ago, was that she always felt tired, right? And she found herself always telling that story of being tired. And feeling that and thinking that. And so here was the session today. She goes, oh my God, it's so simple. Because we had talked about that her thoughts and feelings, the story that she's making up about her life, specifically about, and about her SP not calling her while he's working. He's an attorney. And they almost never do lunch. And he always says that, you know, it's because he's busy and all that. Well, things have changed. She goes, oh my God, when I got out of the middle, she used this term, when I stopped messing around in the middle, when she stopped trying to flip thoughts and flip feelings, trying to influence the circumstances, trying to influence him, trying to feel good that the condo is going to sell, all of that. She said the condo has since sold. Her boyfriend her fiance actually did ask her out, and they had lunch just out of the blue. She didn't say anything, right, about that, meaning to him. She just enjoyed it. And they decided that they are going to move in together. All of this happened over this month as she moved out of the middle, as she stopped messing around the middle, stopped trying to influence reality, right? That the thoughts and feelings really don't create reality, right? Remember, the thoughts and feelings, everything's creative on some level, even actions. But as you mess around in the middle, you're telling the story of how things are not the way you want them to be. And so you're trying to flip thoughts and feelings to feel good about the circumstances that are unwanted, to turn them into the wanted. That's what she was doing, right? She was messing around in the middle. Remember, they're effects, they're conditions, those thoughts and feelings. They're manifestations of the story you're telling yourself. She was telling the story that she's tired all the time, right? That she's going to have to live in an apartment before they get married, that her condo just won't sell, that the market's not good, right? That it's soft. All of that was her story. Once she decided who she is, right? Decided that she is source, that there's nothing outside of her, that she creates it all, that it's her I am story that's the real story. Moving out of that messy middle, she started creating those conditions that she was resisting by trying to think good thoughts, trying to feel good about them, by trying to influence them. She goes, oh my God, it's so simple. So let's hear that. I love this though. I stopped messing around in the middle. I like that. That's a new way of looking at it. I called it the messy middle. But she said I stopped messing around in the middle. I really like that. So remember, let's break it down. What we talked about yesterday, we really broke it down. We hit some new areas for her that she wanted to work on. Being and having everything you want and desire is your true nature. It's your name, the nature in the name of I am. That's what Jesus said. Ask in my name. In other words, asking my nature, the nature of being that I amness. This is some of the things, the points that we hit, right? It's all there anyway. The condo was sold. If she really wanted to live together, that could happen, right? And in terms of her boyfriend reaching out and having lunch with her fiance, that all can happen. But she was resisting it, right? Resisting it by resisting the thoughts and feelings, by feeling doubt, by feeling fear, by feeling uncertainty in that. Everything else, remember, is an experience of that one and only reality, of that love. To know yourself as the all. All of that's an experience. Because I think one of you asked yesterday, or commented on the channel, and why would God have a negative experience? Well, God doesn't have a negative experience, right? Those experiences, you label the experience as negative. God is just knowing itself as source. You're the one that labels the experience as unwanted and negative, right? So remember, I'm the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and last. I've talked about this in many different ways. But really, what I want to say here, what does that mean in Revelations? What does that mean in Scripture? It means there's nothing outside of God. That means all conditions in this horizontal experience, that on one side you're judging them good, on one side you're judging them bad. But those sides or those ends meet, and there's only unity. So you're calling that same substance, that same love that you are, those very conditions that you want to be different, you're calling them good and bad at the same time, so they can't change. That's what she was doing. As you mess around in the middle, trying to feel better about the circumstances that you're judging bad, that you're that one substance. Remember, those conditions change into what you want. They're the same substance. They're all God. So you're resisting God when you're resisting anything. She really just got to this point where she was just not resisting anything. She was letting everything be okay because it is okay. And then just focusing on, putting her awareness on her intentions, what she wanted, without the resistance of needing it. Judging those conditions, banging on those conditions, right? There's nothing but God. So how can God have a negative experience? This is what one of you asked yesterday. That's your creation. That's your assumption. That's your experience. I know you were kind of trying to be cute there, commenting on the video, right? And it's a cute statement. It can be funny. It's a little sarcastic. I get it. But God only experiences love because God is love. Do you see it? That's your experience. That's your judgment. That's your experience of reality. God only knows itself as God. And to know itself as God is to know what it's not like to be God. That's why we're here, to know ourselves experientially. Right? Remember, you're one with God, but that Father is greater than you. So your oneness with God is, yes, there is no negative experience, but the Father is greater than you means you have the free will to choose how to label, how to judge, how to experience reality. God gives you that free will. It's up to you, right? God only sees and knows unity and oneness. So when you reject, when you resist, when you judge, when you run from unwanted and negative conditions that you believe are unwanted and negative, you're rejecting, you're resisting, and you're running from God. You're running from that one source. It's all of the same source. So when you reject any part of that source, you reject all of it, right? And then you wonder why things haven't changed, right? So it's not about God having a negative experience. That's impossible. God's just love. But God gives you free will. You're one with that love. But also that love's greater than you because you have the free will to decide how you're going to experience it, right? So we've talked about that in many different ways. Fear and doubt is resistance to unwanted or negative outcomes, right? I think The Magician's Way, I really hit this in some videos, right? Remember, conditions are conditions, but I am what one of our one of my clients had coined, right? Outcomes are outcomes, but I am, right? That's all fear and doubt. It's resistance to unwanted outcomes. Allow all possibilities exist. Allow infinity to be infinity. Allow God to be God. Allow all that is to be all that is. Stop trying to reduce all that is or get rid of certain experiences of infinity. Allow it all to be. All potential exists. All possibilities exist. All quantum possibilities exist. Stop resisting any part of God in that unity of all that is, and instead choose and focus on your desired end through love of what you want and not lack. Do you see it? Through the love of what you want, not the lack of it. Don't see the lack, see the love. Right? That's what we're talking about. All possibilities exist. And the possibility of you not experiencing what you want exactly at that point. But all of it, remember, all of that comes from judgment. Make it all good and very good. This is one client said yesterday. Because, Tom, I'm just seeing everything as good and very good. This was a different client. Remember, stop resisting any part of God in that unity of all that is. Instead, choose and focus on your desired end through love of what you want, not the lack of it. Right? The Father and I are one, and the Father is greater than I am or I. Right? Remember, the Father is first cause. The great I am only knows unity, only knows oneness, only knows perfection, only knows love, doesn't know negativity. That's your creation, right? That is the one and only reality. That's what's real. Like A Course in Miracles says, only love is real. God only knows what's real. God only creates what's real. Everything that's unreal, your temporary thoughts and feelings about things. As an example, that big breakthrough for this one client, that it's really so simple. The messing around the middle is unreal, right? That's why the Father is greater than I, because you get to choose. You get to choose how you're going to experience that love. That's where the idea of relativity in duality, and the experience of relativity in duality in good and bad and positive and negative comes from. God, through you, has the experience, knows experientially of what it's like to be all that is. But God doesn't judge any of it. God only sees the unity of it all, not the separation, not the judgment of good and bad, not the judgment of positive and negative. That's your creation. That's your experience, right? In the absence of that which is not, that which is not. Conversations with God, Neil Donald Walsh, right? In the absence of that which is not, that which is not. In other words, God is all that is. It's first cause. It includes everything. It's the absolute isness of reality. There's nothing outside of it. So there's no opposite. So how do you know that? How do you experience that supremeness? By manifesting all possibilities, by creating God's first creation, the Son. You got the Father, the Son. The first manifestation was all potential. All potential to experience itself as the all. Within that beingness is all potential. And then you, as an identity, as a point of consciousness, get to identify and as something. I am that, or I am this. But remember, what's your true identity? I am that I am. You are that great I am. You are the one source. That Father is greater. Right here, that Father is greater, but you get to decide based on your source, based on your true nature, what you want to identify with. And that's why when Jesus asked his disciples, who do you say I am? And they went off on a tangent, as I've always talked about. Right, saying John the Baptist, Elijah, Jeremiah. And Jesus asks again, but who do you say I am? In other words, what is your identity? What is your ultimate self-concept? Who are you? Then Peter finally answers, the Christ, the Son of the living God. Identify as that. And then decide what your assumptions about that identity is going to be. Right? Do you assume that everything's within you or it's outside of you? Do you assume separation and lack or love and fulfillment? You get to decide. You get to decide your experience of reality. Are you going to look at those conditions as negative and unwanted? Are you going to just look at them as conditions, as experiences of reality, and decide what your relationship to them is going to be? Because that comes from that more powerful identity of being Christ, the Son of the living God. right, where everything is yours. Your assumptions, remember the levels of creation, 7 being the highest, then there's 6, the first manifestation, the sun. Then 5, the identity, a self-concept, then 4, the assumptions. Assumptions create reality for sure. They create your experience of reality, right? Who do you assume you are? That's what Jesus was asking. Who do you say I am? Who do you assume you are is the next question. Of that I am. If you're Christ, the Son of the living God, then who do you assume? What experience are you going to have of this ultimate reality? You get to determine that. Your assumptions are your story. She changed her story. This client, what we really talked about is she stopped telling the story that a condo, that the market's soft, that a condo won't sell, that time is running out. She stopped telling that story, that she's going to have to get in an apartment before they get married and live together. She stopped telling that story that she's tired all the time. She changed her story in that inner story, that inner talk. That, you know, that I'm divine, that my energy is perfect. I'm perfect source. How could I be without energy? How can source be tired? How can God be tired? Right? How can God settle? I think one of my clients that we're talking about, do I have to settle for it? God never settles. God never modifies its desires. You don't have to modify anything. You were given the free will to choose to assume and tell your story as you would like it to be, and not as it appears to be. That's why Jesus said, don't judge according to appearances. Right? He didn't say don't judge. Judge it righteously. See those appearances the way you want them to be. They have no meaning. One of you asked that question on the channel. Well, Tom, how do I not give meaning to conditions if they're in my face and I have to deal with them? No one said don't give them meaning. We said they don't have meaning unless you give them meaning. That's what we said. Do you see how we kind of generalize these things and go off on a tangent, and that 3D linear mind starts working, right? Jesus didn't say don't judge. He said don't judge according to appearances. I didn't say don't give them meaning. We said they don't have any meaning, only the meaning that you give them. Do you get it? Your thoughts and feelings are not real or reality. They're manifestations of your assumptions, your story, who you say you are, your identity. You get to determine all. That's what the law of attraction and the secret gurus didn't tell you. That you don't have to work your way up inductively, trying to flip thoughts and flip feelings and feel better and attract things to you. You already are all things. You get to determine that experience. I am your host, Tom Kearin, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creatives, thank you. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for liking and sharing and commenting on the videos, for being a member of our Facebook group, the Be Something Wonderful Ambassadors, at facebook.com/groups/Be Something Wonderful, for joining us on Instagram and Twitter and on Threads at Tom Kearin, at Tom Kearin. And thank you for joining our membership channel. We have a big live stream coming on August 6th, 2023, on the birthday of one of our subscribers. Happy birthday. And someone mentioned that in the channel yesterday. And I'm glad to celebrate the birthday with a live stream. And that live stream's coming August 6th, 9 in the morning, right here, live from Las Vegas. I'm going to answer your questions. We're already receiving lots of questions. Send your questions to info@besomethingwonderful.com. With great love, with great light and infinite gratitude. This is Tom coming to you from Las Vegas in the Be Something Wonderful studios of higher consciousness. Until next time, we'll see you soon.